All the contortionists out there, please do not put yourself in an oven.
Well, you can put yourself in an oven, just don't turn it on. Okay. Hello and welcome to What's on the Fourth Floor. I am your host, Carter Walford, together here with my co-hosts.
I'm Ethan Goobles.
And Claire Weekly.
I like being the guy to introduce it. I like this sense of power, and I'm gonna be the one directing the conversation this time. It feels good. Feel the power in my bones. I'm gonna give up the first talking point to Ethan. What do you got for us today, and what's with that?
Well, thank you, Sir Walford. My first what's with that talking points. I was thinking about history the other day, and I was thinking, well, thanks to Hitler, we now consider it taboo to name our children Adolf.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
why then do we not consider it taboo to name our kids Joseph because of Stalin?
I think because there wasn't a world war fought over it, so it's not as public
Yeah.
of an issue.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, he's pretty much just as much of a
Just
hated
as
guy.
bad.
Yeah, I mean,
but-
there's also Mao Zedong.
yeah, he's got a lot less.
I don't know the
Mao Zedong.
No. I don't know how
Let's-
many people are named Mao.
You're being very Anglo-centric right now.
Yeah.
so
right.
there's
Yeah,
loads of people
that's why.
named Mao.
That's why I don't know. I honestly don't
Mhm.
know.
Okay, so let's stick to
But Joseph.
Joseph. Yeah, I mean, it's just a problem in general that the other awful dictator types don't get as much publicity. Hitler's sort of the poster boy.
Yeah,
of,
the epitome of
Evil, so to speak.
Yeah.
the epitome of evil. Therefore, don't name your kid after him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And
Well, I
Joseph,
mean-
is it that Joseph? I don't know how popular of a name Adolf
Well,
was.
he was just as bad of a dictator. As
Yeah,
Well,
no,
yeah.
but like
Hitler,
of a
though.
name to name children.
Adolf
popular-
was
Joseph?
fairly
No,
popular
Joseph
within
was-
Germany.
Joseph
the
is
time.
already named
Right.
after, like biblical characters and all
Yeah.
that. So is
Mhm.
Adolf sort of you don't see
Right.
past it because it's the only Adolf you can think of is Hitler. But if you say Joseph, I could name a bunch of Josephs. throughout
Right,
history.
exactly.
So maybe that's it. There's a sort of a correlation effect.
We so because it's a common name because it's a biblical name, and so
Yeah.
therefore we didn't get rid of it culturally.
Yeah.
Even though, there was a Joseph Stalin, dictator
Yeah.
named
Mhm.
Joseph.
When I say the name Joseph, it might not even be that Stalin is the first person who comes to mind. But if you
Right.
say the
Right.
name Adolf, Hitler is very obviously the first person
But
that comes
that's
to mind.
because Adolf is not a
He's not a
common
common
name
name
to
Exactly, and that's what I
outside
was
of-
wondering.
So
that's
who
sort
else
of
you
what
can
I
think
opened
of?
with. Yeah, is Adolf a common name? Was Adolf a common name in Germany?
Fairly before.
Before, yeah.
Yeah.
Before
Probably not
Hitler.
anymore.
anymore. Probably, yeah, definitely
Mhm.
not. Especially in Germany, I would
Are
assume.
there people with the last name? Is Hitler a common last name?
I don't
That'd be a
think so.
bummer if you were a Hitler and like completely unrelated.
Well,
but
I mean,
now it's like
after World War
everyone
II,
hates
a
you.
lot of people were changing their names
I would
for a
assume
lot
so.
of
Yeah.
reasons.
Right.
That could very well be one of them.
Fair enough. That's probably
Exactly.
man. Rip census takers after World War II. They just got
Yeah.
start over, guys.
We have to redo this entire
I
thing.
mean, honestly, if your last name was Hitler during or after World War II, would you change it like as soon as you turned
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
18?
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
I don't know what you would change it to. Anything,
Literally
really,
anything
but,
else.
Superman.
Anything else. It
Johnson.
doesn't matter.
John Smith. When I was in Quiz Bowl, I was an avid Quiz Bowler in high school.
Me too.
And if it was ever a name that they needed, because you go for like authors a lot,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and I didn't know, you want to throw something out in Quiz Bowl. There's no
Right.
penalty for guessing. It was
Right.
always John Smith.
The-
Someday it'll be John Smith. It never was John Smith, but my throw out a guess answer was John Smith.
We had a different throw out a guess answer for each tournament.
Really
Yes.
Mhm.
But they were funny ones.
ridiculous.
I never came up with them because I'm not that creative.
I guess I would say Batman sometimes.
Batman.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like, who wrote this book, this poem? Batman.
Of course it
Anyways.
was. Or was it Bruce Wayne?
Bruce Wayne. Well, I wouldn't want to out Bruce Wayne, That's still a secret. That's like
Oh,
Santa
shoot.
Claus.
Oh, yeah.
You really just spoiled The
So
Batman
we just need to cut that
storyline.
last
Sorry, we'll have
segment
to-
out of the podcast. I am sorry to our sound engineer.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
got to say.
It just
Edit
have a
that one
bleep.
out.
Do we have bleep technology?
Just pressing a key. Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
Thanks for that insight,
Mm-hmm.
Carson, our sound engineer.
So I think that's what's with that is that Joseph is a more common name than Adolf. Agree?
But like the question is
Okay.
why? But
Is why?
yeah.
What do you? Well, you said
It's
why
too
isn't it
simple.
taboo?
Why is it not
Right,
taboo?
why-
Or
well,
why is
okay,
it a more
yeah.
That's
common
why
name?
it's
But
not
if it were
taboo, is 'cause it's
taboo, it
such a
wouldn't be a
common name.
common name. They're kind of
But there
interconnected.
were too many Josephs before Stalin that
Okay.
were famous and popular.
Okay.
You see? Are you with
There
me?
was
And
also
okay.
Joseph Goebbels.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
he was not a
Goebbels
great
is
guy.
No.
Almost Joseph Goebbels.
You don't even try.
Okay, that's one joke I haven't heard yet. There've been a lot of them.
Well, from my last
For
name.
your last name, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I went
Pretty
to high
used to
school
it.
with someone with your last name.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
The Goebbels.
Uh-huh. Which is a more common last name than I thought.
I'd never heard of Google's. Before I came to UNL. Oh man, what's the name? All right, go on with the conversation. I'll think of it later. What kind of Google's jokes did you hear in high school? Let's all make fun of Ethan real quick.
Oh.
Jeez.
Oh,
I've had boobles,
Ooh.
I've heard that one.
gubbles.
That was, yeah.
Well, but that's just like
That's just
that's an like
more around Thanksgiving than any other time of year.
Gobbles. Nice.
gobbles.
Good. It's almost Thanksgiving. We got it. We'll start with the gobbles.
I feel like that's unnecessary.
Before I came to UNL, I'd never met a Micah or Mika. I now know like 4. It's
Really?
ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah.
There was also
so many
a Micah
Mikas.
that I went to high school with.
And I wanna know why this is. Why is there such a high concentration of Mikas and Micahs?
I've never met a Mika.
You've met a Mika.
Have I?
Yeah. There's one in or Micah. I've got
Micah?
Well, Micah's, yeah.
a Micah.
Wait, are you pronouncing Micah and
Micah and
like the
Mika.
same
Some
name?
people care. I've met one of each. But I'm now lumping them as Micah and Mika.
Okay. I've
Sure.
never met anybody that pronounces it Mika.
Me either.
Anyways, my what's with that? I have always sort of joked. I will in my classes. I have notebooks for my classes, and
As one does.
as one does. But I will have 1, maybe 2 notebooks for all of my classes, and I will just do them. Like if I have physics in the morning, I'll start taking physics notes, and then if I go to differential equations, I'll just flip the page, and on the next page I'll have diffie-q notes, and then I'll have Greek notes after that. It's all in one book, and people say that's very unorganized, and I always have like a
yeah,
sort
I'm
of
Oh, that
cringing.
bothers me.
I'm
I have a sort of-
cringing over here.
throwaway
bothers
joke
me.
that it is extremely organized. It is in reverse chronological order. The newest things are
Shoot,
towards the
it
back of
is.
it, and the oldest
Dang.
things
Yeah.
in time temporally are in the beginning.
It's
and
organized by time,
It is
subject.
organized by time, not by
It's a
subject. and so-
temporal, not a topological.
Yeah.
Or topical, I mean.
topical. And I will say that in sort of counter, but it's always kind of joking. I don't really buy my own logic. It's just because I'm
Good.
lazy
Okay,
and don't want to get
gotcha.
out another notebook.
You're just
but I-
being a smart aleck.
Yeah. But I have been listening to Algorithms to Live By,
Oh, that's right.
the computer
Right.
science of human thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's a podcast, right? On
It's an audio.
or sorry, not
Audiobook,
podcast, an
okay.
audiobook
Audiobook.
on Audible.
Well, I'm sure it's.
Well, I'm sure it's
other
everywhere,
places
but
too,
I've heard
I'm
it.
listening to
I've
it
heard
on audiobook.
advertisements for it on
Mhm.
Audible.
Yeah, and the sort of chapter that I'm in and listening to is all about sorting. It's a riveting book, loads of sorting theory. That's the sort of thing I'm interested in, and it came out from this that this is almost the most efficient way to possibly sort your things. Like he started talking about the most efficient way to sort papers is to have just a stack of them on your desk, and after you use them, you put them down. And then if the stack gets too big, you take them off to some other filing place.
Okay.
But this is, if you're looking for time efficiency and like to minimize the amount of time you're looking for papers, the way I'm doing it is actually the optimal way of going about sorting.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So,
That's probably just because in your mind, though,
You
It's
remember
because the
when
things you
you
used-
remember the order that you.
The things you use most recently are on the top,
Right.
and
Mhm.
you're almost always going to be looking for things that you have used recently.
Oh, true.
This is
Okay.
exactly the same way computer caching works in your computer,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you now, because you were both cringing at the beginning, are you sold now? Are you going to
No.
start keeping one
Oh,
notebook?
absolutely not.
Nope.
No.
I have one notebook for every subject and then another notebook to keep track of everything in.
Yeah, that's the
But-
thing. I have too many notebooks now, so
I
Ne-
carry around 5. That-
5 notebooks.
Yes.
Couldn't do it. 1 notebook's all you need. So, I guess it's a question now to our listeners. Were you sold? Are you gonna go on the 1 notebook?
Please no.
It's if you want to
Claire
maximize
cares about
efficiency
you.
in your life, 1 notebook. That's how you do it. And
But here's the thing, though. I'm thinking ahead. I also have a slightly different way of organizing my notes. Well,
Mhm.
I've noticed this in class. Carter and I sit next to each other in physics,
Mhm.
and we I also sit next to Jessie, another physics friend of ours, and I've noticed how like when our teacher writes something important up on the board, or if there's something important that needs to be written down, you just write it down.
obviously, as you do.
Right, but you just like write down it might be an equation, or the end of a derivation of an equation or something, and you just write that down.
Correct.
I have to have like a title, and then like a little blurb about where this came from.
Yeah.
Maybe some other
Yeah.
notes that she kind of verbally said,
I have.
Mhm.
and then the equation, and then it's boxed
Yeah.
to
I have
to
also
show that
looked
it's
at your
important.
notes.
Like
That's
I'm
what I
very
do.
Yours is
organized in my
very
notes.
structured.
Right. So that way I can go through like the class note, like the notes we took in class that day, and I can see how we changed from topic to topic.
Mhm.
Because oftentimes we'll finish class and I'll just be like, I have no idea. Like
What we
when she
did.
started class, I didn't know where we were going, and when we
Yeah.
finished class, I really didn't know where we had been.
Like I paid attention,
but I can go
and
back
understood
through
it
and I
all
can
while it was happening.
I can
but
see
now
the
I'm like,
topics, and I can like I can go back through and refresh myself and say, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's what.
My s-
But I wouldn't be able to do that if it was in one notebook.
I
All
run
of
out of
them,
pages
I'll just
too
run.
quickly that way.
That's a big notebook.
But I'd just run from I'd run from DiffEQ topics to math or to astronomy topics to physics topics to
And sometimes
you
it's a little
know,
bit
to
hard to
different
tell your
topics.
notes apart.
Yeah, I see where you're going
It's
with
just
this.
it's just harder to tell notes apart.
My philosophy on note taking is that first of all, I'm going to remember most of the time the sort of motivation and where these things come from, just because I'm interested in the topics. The only things I write down are things that just are facts you need to memorize, and there's no other way to get to them. Well, I mean, I could go through the derivations again, but it's just something. This is just something
Ew.
you should have remembering, and
Mhm.
you should remember. And those are the only things I write down.
Me too.
My other idea is that all of the background and all that is, I have the textbook, and I can find all of the background and motivations in the textbook as well.
Right.
But that requires going
So,
through something else and
I-
finding all of that.
And that's why I write down the things. I'm actually the tools I will need for the homework. I will write down on a piece of paper, and I will have them to do the homework. But if I need background understanding, I can go back into the textbook and look through that to find everything.
I over note take.
Yes.
But it helps me stay. I feel like I'm doing something. Okay, especially in those days when I'm just completely lost in class. Because
as happens.
Right. When you start class and you don't know where you're going, but the teacher knows, you can be really lost. Like if she starts doing a derivation for something, we have no
why
idea
are
what
we
we're
doing this?
Yeah, exactly. You can be really lost. Whereas, well, I just feel like that's the difference between good teaching and bad teaching. But I'm not saying that she's a bad teacher. I'm just saying every once in a while, like I just get lost in class.
Yeah.
So I really over note take, and I try to be as extremely organized as possible, because then in class, I at least have a feeling of, I at least make myself feel better by staying organized. But I almost never look back at my notes. I never,
really?
even when
That's
I'm
the
doing
thing.
homework, I don't reference my notes. I only reference the book.
Yeah, in the short term.
My other problem is if I over note take, I hardly ever look back at my notes. But even if I wanted to, I will look at it and it's just this big wall of text, and I'm like, too long, I'm not going to read it.
Yeah, but see, for that
So I have to keep
precise
it
reason
short.
is why I stay organized, or at least I stay topical with my notes. So that way, just in case I do, I don't have to skim through pages and pages of just random words and equations.
When I take notes, I'm keeping in mind that I might be looking back at this 5 months from now with no context.
Exactly.
And that's the mindset I use when I'm taking notes.
Yeah, me too.
Because more often than not, either I'll have a final or I'll have a class that builds on that, and I won't remember the context for the things I wrote down.
All right.
Anyways, moving on to in the news.
Right, I have an in the news segment. This one comes courtesy of NASA. So, NASA just.
Always good when it comes from NASA.
Of course. Okay, so NASA just ended a 15-year mission with GRACE satellites, or Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment satellites. And that was a mission involving 2 satellites in orbit, giving insights into how our planet is changing based on the movement of liquid water, ice, and solid masses on Earth.
Like the topographical features.
Yeah, topographical features.
Interesting. So like a map, an evolving map of the surface of the Earth.
Yeah, so it was launched in March 2002. Well, these 2 satellites.
Okay.
That's when the mission started. And it originally had a 5-year mission to map out our planet's gravitational field.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's extremely cool. We'll have to come back to why that's a thing
it of course
later on
lasted
if we
longer
have time.
than 5 years, but
As most NASA missions do.
yeah.
As most NASA missions do.
NASA missions are planned to last a set amount of time.
But the engineers build it so that it can
no
last
matter
a lot
what,
longer.
it will last that amount of time.
Exactly.
And if you're building on that contingency, it often lasts much longer.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so for 15 years, it mapped out how much water, ice, and solid matter move on and around Earth's surface. And that includes things like seasons and weather and climate changes
Right.
over the course of this.
Okay.
And this has caused slight differences in the gravitational pull of Earth because of the changes in Earth's mass.
Yeah. Well, in the local mass of Earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does it map?
Okay,
the mass at that location. That's what I want to know.
Okay.
Or how does it know, you know?
It has a microwave ranging system, and so GRACE is 2 satellites, GRACE 1 and GRACE 2. And the microwave ranging system is used to measure the distance between the satellites
okay.
over the diameter of Earth. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this too well. Okay, so it was like you have all this ranging data, and that's combined with GPS tracking information.
So the distance between the 2 satellites
is very, very specific.
And then they each take like a...
They coordinate to get the data they need, and that combines with GPS tracking for timing and things like that.
So they each take like a radar map of the ground. Like they each take a map of like the relative heights, or like how the height changes on the ground. And then they also know where each of them are. So when you put those two, when you put that data together, you can create like a 3D model of the surface of the Earth. Is that how it works?
Yeah, with respect to different states of matter too.
And with respect to different states of matter. Interesting.
Well, I mean like different movements of the matter. I'll phrase it that way.
There's a practice in condensed matter where you take like an atom width pin and like put it close to a surface of some object, and you can measure like atom by atom.
Oh, that's right.
What is that called? Is that spectroscopy?
I think I wrote my paper. I think I wrote a paper on that.
So go ahead and tell us what it's called if you...
I don't remember what it's called. Shoot, I might have it still on my... it might be on my Google Drive.
But this is reminding me of that practice.
Where where like you literally probe the surface of a material and you can map out
what's there.
Yeah, you can map out the atom by atom heights. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And then when
but what these satellites, they don't
What
like
these
probe the
satellites are
surface of the Earth
doing
with a
is
thing,
measuring gravitational differences in Earth using the different components that are moving within the Earth system.
okay,
So, like tracking movements
so they're
of
not
water.
directly measuring gravitational field.
No, they're
on the
they're
satellite.
measuring like how the mass changes.
How stuff is shifting around, and then
Right.
indirectly calculating the gravitational field, which is that's interesting. That's probably really hard.
Yeah, and the
These-
mission ended actually a couple of days ago because
Scanning
one of the
probe microscopy.
satellites started to malfunction, and without both of them, they can't.
Oh, it ended?
Yeah, just
Oh,
a few
no.
days ago. Or, well,
Hence it's
that
in the
was when it
news.
was released, the
Shoot.
news.
Just for clarification, the practice in condensed matter of probing atom by atom is called microscopy.
Microscopy,
That's
there
a
you go.
word. Yay.
It couldn't be, what did you say? You said
Spectroscopy, yeah, well, I mean, they
it can't
sort
be
of sound
that.
the
Yeah.
same, but that's more with light.
That's with light,
optics.
Mhm.
yes.
And there is going to be a Grace follow-on mission in 2018, I believe. That's when it's going to launch. And so one of the Grace satellites is still operating, and it will continue to do so through the end of 2017. And
So what does that
Is-
satellite can do then?
Is the other satellite already offline?
I believe so.
Well, that
Mhm.
stinks.
So yes,
We
this
didn't
is a
get-
mission that is over, but there will be a follow-on mission to it
All right.
in
Yeah,
2018.
I'm sure there's all kinds of application of mapping precisely the gravitational field of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Not that I could speculate on them, but
Well,
somebody
I
smarter
mean,
than me probably.
Just think about it. So we're delving into a new area of physical or research in physics where like gravity is what we're studying.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
wouldn't you want to know what the local gravity is like,
Mhm.
down to I don't know, micro or millinewtons of probably or smaller than that, probably like nanonewtons of precision.
Someone somewhere is salivating over this data.
Yeah, somebody. We can assume that since they put money into this, that there's a use for it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but NASA does a lot of planetary Earth
Earth
research, and people probably don't realize that. Like, I think it's like most of their budget goes to that.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to a second in the news topic, I have one. Have you ever? Well, first to preface, have you guys? We're young adults now. Have you been grocery shopping and buying fresh fruit
Yes.
in your life?
Fresh fruit. Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. Well, a problem I personally have when I'm buying fresh fruit is which ones to buy. Some of them will be ripe. Some of them are not quite ripe. And you pick them up and you feel them, and I'm like, I don't know what any of this means. And so I usually just sort of randomly pick out some.
I don't know what any of this means.
Is it supposed to be firm? Is it supposed to be a bit softer? I don't know.
It depends on the fruit. Just Google it. I
Anyways,
think that
I
will
wanna
solve
see
your
Carter in the
problem.
grocery
This is
store.
preface to
Google solves
news.
Carter's problems.
this is not permission to razz me.
No, I'm
Um,
pretty
Oh,
sure
I'm
it
pretty
is.
sure it is.
Anyways, a group headed by Casper Van Wyck and Sam Hitchman,
Great guys.
great guys,
Casper, the
real
friendly ghost.
heavy hitters in the physics department. Were using seismological data and like precedents set by studying the Earth's interior,
Right.
Mhm.
and they were moving that and sort of using the same theory to probe apples.
No
they were,
kidding.
They
Okay.
are studying apple seismology, and what they would do, because an apple is a lot like the Earth. It has a core and a sort of a mantle with a thin outside layer, a crust, if
True.
you will.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
They were shooting the apples with
Like sound waves?
lasers.
Oh, lasers.
The lasers would induce a sort of wave through the apple, and they would
Okay.
study these waves. And when an apple is going bad, the waves, you get different peaks,
Okay.
and in your waves, you get different standing waves inside of it.
So you're going to bring a laser to the grocery store.
It's a small. They are working on this. Is not made up, right? They are working on making this sort of economically viable. And you just bring. You have like a stud finder for construction. You just bring like a little stud finder looking thing,
So
and you
is this
push it
good
up against
only
your
for
apple.
apples?
Oh, well, any fruit. They could probably
Okay.
extend the research to other
Okay.
fruits. And
Well, like the grocery store could do this. Like you wouldn't even have to have your own. Like the grocery store
Could have
could
it
have
by
their
the scale
own.
or
Like a
something.
Yeah, and
little
then they're
thing.
constantly checking the fruit to make sure that the fruit's
well, grocery
not going
stores.
bad.
Grocery stores are incentivized to sell you the rotten fruit. They don't want to just throw that out.
Are you
So I don't
sure?
think the grocery store would.
Are you sure?
Because
Because
they
I
get
could.
more money that way. You ever bought like a bag of apples? They put the bad ones in the bags,
Why would you ever buy a bag of apples?
right?
That's just a bad
Because
idea.
it's always the bad ones in the pre-made bags, right? So the grocery stores do try to sell you the rotten fruit.
Buying a bag of apples is like buying Red Delicious apples. It always ends badly.
Wow, throwing it down on Red
Wow.
Delicious. Anyways, these brilliant physicists are devising a way through seismology to detect from the outside. Because if you want to see if a fruit is rotten, you have to destroy the fruit. You have to like cut it open or what have you.
Right.
But they're now devising through seismology a way to detect if the fruit is rotten or fresh, based on
Wow.
without destroying the apple, just from the outside. You study the
It's
waves,
stories-
the way waves go through it.
It's stories like that that really makes me proud to be a human at this point
like-
in time. Like
Nice.
look at where we've gotten.
And it also makes you think how much
So apple lasers are the pinnacle of human accomplishment thus far.
there's so much
Yes.
super
Okay.
high level science going into really mundane things.
Yes. Yeah, I love it.
That's the
which
best
I love
thing,
it.
though.
I always get a big smile across my face whenever I think about that.
So now the next time somebody asks you, your listener, and
If
us,
fruit is
well, no, just
correct-
physics in general.
Okay.
Like what, like physics. Like what do we
What's
use
the
physics
point?
for?
Yeah.
You know, like
I
what's
always-
the point
See,
of
new
I've
physics?
always
apples
just
are
blown
rotten
off.
before you buy them.
I've always just
That's
blown
what
off
it's
that
for.
question, but now you can actually answer. It's
Yeah.
fruit and
When you go to the store, wouldn't you like to have some nice pieces of fruit?
the actual answer to the what's the point of physics is everything,
Yeah,
Well,
I
yeah.
know.
but you know,
That's hard to get across.
if you want to get that's sort of a cop out answer. If you want an actual specific instance,
Here it
go.
is.
Here it is.
Here it
you get to
is.
detect whether or not your fruit's rotten.
Most
I
of the
feel
time,
like good answers to the question, what's the point of physics, are answers that explain it in such a way that the same thing could not be said about pure math.
Yes,
pure math, right?
or engineering.
But
That too.
here's the thing, though. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, you have to differentiate
Differentiate.
between
Mhm.
engineering and physics. But here's the thing, though. Most people don't ask, "What's the point of physics?" Like the whole field.
Yeah.
They hear about like LIGO, or they hear
Or-
about like specific
Or the
things that we're
LHC or
doing,
something.
or the
Mhm.
Large Hadron Collider in Geneva,
Keep in
Switzerland. And
mind
they say,
that
"What's
all
the
this
point?"
research is eventually going to make our lives better, and sometimes it's a very short eventuality.
Yeah,
It's-
sometimes you have to wait a while.
You can't
Mhm.
comprehend when you're making an experiment what all the data will be used for, everything it'll ever be useful
Right,
in.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But it is always
The knowledge that comes out of
Yeah.
it, you have no idea where it's going to lead.
It's like how NASA invented Velcro so we could put
Yeah.
people in space.
I
Exactly.
sort
we
of
all
equate
use Velcro now. It's just one of
knowledge
those things.
to money. I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but it
Mhm.
is always good to have more of it.
I think this
True.
goes back to the apocalypse situation.
Which we
Ah,
discussed in the last
hey.
episode,
Yes.
yes.
Callback.
The more knowledge you have in the situation that most of the population of the planet has been killed, the more valuable you'll be to the other members of society, and therefore the better off.
It's never detrimental to know something.
Right.
Well,
Unless it like ruins your mind, and you go insane. Then it'd be bad to know that. But
Ooh, yeah.
under most circumstances,
Under most
knowledge is
circumstances.
preferable.
Yeah.
knowledge is power. That's Schoolhouse Rock, isn't it?
Is that
I
what
love
it's from?
Schoolhouse Rock.
I know I've heard it before.
Uh,
That's funny. Well,
Anyways, should we move on? Once
you
more
tell me.
to, I think we have. Do we have another? What's
trivia?
with that? Are we going to
Are we
trivia?
going
Do we
to
want to go
wait?
to
Wait.
trivia?
We were
We've
doing
got
the
time
news.
for trivia and something else if we want.
oh, okay. I have a question.
A question.
Yes.
we'll move on to the question.
Do people wield power, or does power wield people?
Uh,
Because you seem to have the host thing going to your head a little.
yeah,
But Carter,
I
you
am.
need to cut him down to size.
I'm completely on board with this accusation.
He's over there
This
checking out his fruit. Like,
j'accuse. It is definitely that power wields people, and I will admit that I'm being controlled by the office of head host.
of lead host
On
for
this
today.
podcast.
The only people in power, sort of by definition, their only job is to perpetuate their own existence as a person in power, and the only way to do that is to stay in power. If you are in power, your goal in life is to
Just
stay,
to stay
in
in power.
And so,
Ooh.
because of that dynamic, the power definitely wields the people. It completely controls what their incentive
Right.
structures look like.
If you didn't have, I could see that if you didn't have like a set purpose anyway, you know, because like, I'm thinking like just like the president, how we've
Mhm.
designed that
Mhm.
office as a country.
Mhm.
Yes, the president wields power,
wields power.
but the president doesn't spend every waking minute trying to keep control of the presidential power,
The office of the
the
president.
office
Right.
the office of the president, because the president actually has like legitimate uses. Like they have jobs,
Yeah.
and they're the only person who can do the job. They're the only person who's allowed to do the
That's
job.
the power.
Right.
And
But they
so-
also have the power to like tell people what to do. That's how I picture power. I picture power as like everybody
I
looks
picture
up to
power
you,
as-
and you can't.
Let's go back to physics as the
Okay.
ability to cause change.
That makes sense.
Ooh, that's
In an
I
amount of
like
time.
that definition.
Let's be.
In a certain amount of
the
time.
shorter the amount of time in which you affect
This
the
is
change, the
exact. No,
greater
wait,
the
wait.
amount
This
of
is an
power.
exact definition of power
Yeah.
in physics.
Yeah.
That's why I said it in
Because-
amount of time
Yes.
to differentiate between energy.
Because energy, if you go to like an elementary textbook, energy is defined as the ability to cause change,
Yeah.
And
and
then-
power is energy in a certain amount of time.
Mhm.
I like that, Claire.
Thank you.
Can I steal that?
Yes.
I'm gonna steal that.
Mhm.
My sort of viewpoint of power is from a different audiobook I listened to called The Dictator's Handbook,
Okay.
which might also
Sounds
it's another
interesting.
clue as to what I'm doing with my free time if I'm listening to The Dictator's
Apocalypse
Handbook.
We might have to have a whole
Physics.
segment about how Carter reviews a book.
Yeah, and he is
Uh-huh.
slowly trying to take over the world. It is take the office of the president.
Okay.
Everything they do, it might be good. They're trying to please their constituents, who are the voters. You want to get
Yes.
voted into office
Yes.
again.
Right.
And so everything you do is based on trying to make people reelect you in 4 years. And we have a term limit, but this then goes
Right.
on
It's-
to
Mhm.
you still want to be, a senator or what have you.
Right.
Everything
You want your
do,
party to stay in power
Your-
then in the next 4
yeah,
years
your
as well.
party-
In being the head of your party, you also
You
can.
assume that the views you have are the best way of creating the most good in the most number
Yeah.
of people.
in
Right.
the assumption that doing the most good is how you get voted for.
Yes.
But
yes.
Issues arise when doing the most good is not what's going to get you voted for.
Right, because
Mhm.
that
And so-
might not be what people like.
I'm trying not to get too political, but there are patterns of people making decisions that are strange, and you're like, that's obviously bad for your voters. That's
Everyone.
bad for everyone, what you've just done. But if you think of it as it will get them more votes
Mhm.
later, it makes more sense.
Mhm.
A lot of systems in politics do not make sense if you're assuming that the people are benevolent and just doing what's good for everyone. They only make sense if you're assuming they're just trying to get voted for again. And so that's my rundown on why power wields people.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I can agree with that.
You can agree with that?
Mhm.
Awesome. I love it when we agree. I love it when
Yeah.
I convince people. I have some radical views, but when I convince people, it really warms my heart. All right, moving on to a lighter topic. Weird trivia with Ethan Gobbles.
Don't
Googles.
do it.
Continue.
Don't do it. Just don't. Okay. Yes, this is trivia. Weird labels edition. Labels as in just on like consumer products.
Oh, fun.
So here's how this is gonna
Are
go.
these like nutrition facts labels?
Or these
They could be.
warning
All
this
kinds of
coffee is
labels.
hot.
Specifically, they're warning labels.
Warning labels.
They could be anything.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe in a future segment they won't be warning labels.
Right.
They'll be
Warning,
instructions.
this is radioactive. Do not inhale.
I take that back. Actually, it's mostly warning and caution labels, but there's one instructions.
Okay.
So let's just jump into it.
Yeah. Well, here's how this is gonna go. I will read you the label, and you must tell me the product that it is
Okay.
on.
All right.
Because they're not necessarily the labels aren't specific enough that you can tell what the product. It doesn't tell you what the product is. Some of them are like they have brand names, but you don't have to get the brand name for it to be correct.
Yep.
All right. Let's go to Claire.
Okay.
Number 1. Here we go. Warning: may cause drowsiness. What is the product? Warning: may cause drowsiness.
NyQuil.
That I don't know. I don't think NyQuil has. I don't know if NyQuil has that on their product. That's incorrect.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it does.
Does it? I don't know.
Sleep
I've never-
aids.
Yeah.
It's sleeping pills.
I'd give
so
that
sleep
to her.
aids. Yeah, I'll give her half the points that I would have given to her if she had gotten it
How many
straight
points
correct.
were you going to give it to her?
Probably 10.
10 points?
It's a nice round
Okay.
number. So I'll give you 5.
Okay.
5
That was a good
points.
one. That was just an easy one to ease us into it.
Yeah. I
So
get
now
where
we
we're
kind of get
going
the
now.
feel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 2, Carter. Warning: do not use while sleeping. What product says warning: do not use while sleeping?
I'm trying to think of any product that possibly could be used while sleeping. Maybe
have
this is
an
going down the
idea.
wrong path.
It's going down the wrong path.
Oh,
Definitely.
Okay.
I have an idea.
Do not use while sleeping. Is it? And I'm thinking of some appliance you would have in your house, because that'd be where you're sleeping. I'm gonna go with an oven.
An oven.
An oven.
Can I tell you my idea?
Yes, let's
A
hear
heating
Claire's.
pad?
A heating pad.
Yeah.
Both of those are very practical thing. Like you would definitely want a warning on there that says do not use while sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Although an oven,
An
like
oven.
you can take a quick nap and like when the timer goes off, you can get up and take your stuff out of the oven.
You're in the oven?
Wait,
No.
wait. Are you saying that you were
No.
in the oven?
No, you just said out of the oven. You said
Take
your stuff
Take your
out of the
stuff
oven.
that you're
Ah,
cooking
your
in the
stuff.
oven.
I thought you said yourself.
Also, don't put yourself in ovens.
Don't put yourself
that is
in the
bad
oven.
advice.
Unless it's like a contortionist sort of show, and you
Still,
put yourself in the oven.
Make
All
sure
the
it's not
contortionists out
plugged
there,
in.
please do not put yourself in an oven.
Well, you can put yourself in an oven, just don't turn it on.
Just don't turn it
How
on.
about just don't put yourself in an oven? I think that solves
I
all of the problems
I think
here.
we're limiting the extent of human ability. How will we know
Oh
if
my
someone can
gosh.
get in an oven?
Is
if
the
they don't
oven bigger
try?
than a bread box?
Is it bigger,
Is
than,
it bigger
a
than a bread box? Oh my gosh. Okay. No, it is not an oven. It is not a heating pad.
Is it a bread box?
Heating pads do have those
It's not a
warning-
bread box.
Heating
Please
pads
do not
do
use
have
a
those
bread box
warning
while sleeping.
labels.
It is a blow dryer.
Okay.
It makes you wonder,
I wa-
what exactly?
Man, I said appliances.
You were very close,
I was
Carter.
getting there.
I'm still
Okay.
not going to give you any points, though.
Dang. All right. This is a biased segment, but I agreed to the rules beforehand. So.
You agreed to the rules.
As in, there are no rules, but we agreed to it anyway.
Mhm.
All right.
We agreed to the arbitrariness of the
Yes.
segment.
Let's go to Claire then for the
Okay.
next one. Number 3. Warning: cape does not enable user to fly. What product says warning: cape does not enable user to fly?
I think a cape.
A cape, but
That's what I
but
was
you have to
thinking.
like
What kind of cape?
no.
Does it have
Is
to
this
be
a
like a
product
red
with a
So
cape?
cape on it?
so like I said before, like the actual product is not in any of these descriptions.
Okay.
Or any of these labels.
Okay.
So you have to be more specific than that,
Okay.
than just a cape.
So pick a color or
no.
no.
Just think. What I
Some
might have to give
other
you a little bit of a hint
cape-related
here. Just think.
product.
Yeah, what kind of product would have a cape?
Superhero toy?
That's your final answer.
No, that's
No.
close. Is that your final answer? Sorry,
Sure.
You already
Okay.
said no, but
I already said no.
that is your final
That is-
answer.
If you said no, it's probably my final answer.
Well,
what
did you
is
have
it?
an idea, Carter?
Did I could only possibly think of like a Halloween costume.
It is a Halloween. It's a Batman costume.
Hey.
So I did need to pick a color.
Oh, it's black. Yeah, I
Black.
might have given you points if you had said black. Black.
Okay.
Well, no, if you said black cape, again, it's not a cape. It was on the package for a Batman costume.
Okay,
Which
so
makes
it's
you
the
wonder, like, who
package,
the
not
heck
the...
bought that thing
First of all,
and thought they could fly because they had it?
Batman's cape doesn't let him fly. He can't fly.
In the new movie,
Mhm.
or in those newer movies, though.
Can he? Wait, I haven't.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
watch
like
much
some-
of. Are you talking about Batman v
Like,
Superman?
no, like the, oh, no, I
Yeah,
haven't seen that, actually.
Batfleck doesn't count.
I'm talking like the Dark Knight.
No, he like
Dark Knight
glides.
Rise.
He can't fly.
He glides, yeah.
Yeah.
True.
So the more accurate label would be warning, product does not allow the user to glide.
Well, or fly.
Or
both
fly.
accurate.
Both are very dangerous if you attempt to do this with the costume.
Okay. I did say superhero in my answer.
Oh, yes. I can, wait, you're at 5 points, right?
Yeah, I'm at 5 points.
I'll give you 7 points for that.
How many points do
Okay.
I get for actually getting it right?
We'll find out.
Okay. All right. Secret point system. I'll take it.
It's flying by the seat of my pants here. Here we go.
Are you
Number
sure?
4, Carter.
I'm ready.
Instructions.
Okay.
Colon. Instructions. Put on food. What product
Okay.
says
Some-
instructions put on food?
Some sort of condiment or spice. That doesn't narrow my options very much.
It could.
I mean, compared to everything in the universe, yeah, that is a very narrow field of condiments and spices.
Condiments and spices.
But just sort of objectively, it's not large at all, or it is very large.
But
The
working
sa-
within the category.
I'm gonna go with salt.
Can
That is on
I
the
take a
salt
guess?
package.
Saran wrap?
You're both wrong.
Okay.
Carter, you narrowed it down to the right category. It is a condiment. Apparently, Heinz ketchup has
Heinz
on their bottle
ketchup.
instructions put on food.
I have Heinz ketchup. I'm gonna go back to my room and
It might have just been like
inspect my
one
ketchup
time
bottle.
they had it on their label and they've since removed it.
All right.
But
Well, good on you, Heinz.
yeah,
Uh,
maybe
if I was an alien, this is my theory on
if I was an alien using
Labels.
Heinz
You were an
ketchup,
alien.
labels and instructions and the like should be usable by aliens. They should be that sort of universal where if I find this thing
Are we assuming
very
that they
ideal
speak
scenario.
that they
English?
speak English.
Okay.
Yeah, probably. I mean, maybe not. IKEA, you don't even have to. They got little pictures for you.
no, right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I could, but good on you, Heinz. You're on the right path.
We're assuming that
You've got Carter's
ketchup would
approval.
not be poisonous to them.
Yep. Well, if ketchup is poisonous, maybe our food is, and they should
Right.
just avoid it altogether. There's a sort of fundamental problem there with the aliens eating our food. Anyways, do I get any points?
Yeah,
for being
yeah, you
close?
definitely get points for that.
Nice.
You narrowed it down right to the right card. But then again, you're right. It is pretty general. Like putting on food. Well, what do you put on food? Spices and condiments.
I went the spices route. That was a mistake.
Let me give you 11 points for
11 points. You said 10 was getting a question right. I get
that. We didn't say that was
more.
consistent, though. I never said that was going to be consistent
All right.
baseline.
All right.
That's true.
I'll take my 11 points. I'm not complaining.
Okay.
Declare.
Oh, good.
What are we on? Number 5? Number 5.
Yes.
Caution. Do not use near power lines. This
Huh.
one has I does not make any sense whatsoever. So
Okay,
don't even try to
so-
logic it out.
So not kites.
Yeah, kite was my first guess.
Okay.
well, because these are weird labels, so don't try to logic this stuff out.
Okay.
Oh, I mean the condiment thing. That kind of was. but-
Yeah. Okay, so do not use near power lines. Okay. Chainsaws.
Please do not use a chainsaw near a power line, but no,
Yes.
that is not the right
I think
answer.
you're gonna cut down a power.
Well, you see, if you're juggling the chainsaws.
Oh, if you're juggling
Oh,
as well,
okay.
yeah.
There we
Very
go.
legitimate
that
scenario.
makes way
Mhm.
more sense than accidentally cutting down a power line. If you're juggling the chain.
And
Oh,
you just
geez.
happen to be under a power line. It happens.
Claire,
I hate it when I find myself out
I-
walking about, just minding my own business, and some guy's juggling
juggling
chainsaw.
his chainsaw, and then he walks underneath the power line.
As long as they're not chasing me with the chainsaws, I'm pretty okay with it.
Would you like to know what the right answer is?
I do.
Yes.
Toilet plunger. I have no idea.
This one is just.
I
one
really
of
should look
those-
this stuff up, like if it's legitimate before I.
I think this is a case of randomness for randomness' sake.
Mm-hmm.
Just because.
Probably it has to be, but yeah. Do not use toilet plungers near power lines. What sort of scenario would a toilet plunger be dangerous near a power line? I have
Maybe you're
no
like-
idea. All of them, all scenarios
You're like
involving
trying
a
to
toilet
climb
plunger.
the
Yes.
power line with the toilet plungers. You're using them as sort of like suction.
I agree with that premise.
Suction pads.
And then
Okay.
you can climb the pole.
Please do not attempt to do that, listeners.
Yeah, don't attempt any of this at home.
Oh, jeez.
Do not
Okay.
attempt science at home. Danger.
Danger, danger. Moving on to number 6, and it is Carter's turn.
You bet.
Warning: do not reuse the bottle to store beverages.
All right, so my idea is that this is a bottle with something disgusting in it, because you wouldn't want to drink out of it then. I don't know how disgusting you would go on the podcast though. That's
On the
I have no idea.
disgusting.
that's I'm gonna go with a sort of external waste storage bag for people who cannot use the bathroom on their own.
And do not reuse
Yeah.
the bottle
Yeah.
for to store beverages.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
My
I
guess
don't know if
would
there's a
be-
word
A
for
bag.
these.
You just went with a
Yeah.
bag when
A-
it says a bottle.
Well, maybe it's a bottle. Okay, are you giving me a chance to rescind my answer?
I am. I haven't asked
Okay.
you if that's your
All right,
final.
all right. A bottle with something gross in it.
Mm-hmm.
This is difficult. You've done well here. I'm gonna go with
Thank
a
you.
bottle that some sort of dissection specimen has come in.
Oh, like you might keep
Like a bottle of formaldehyde or
a
something.
bottle of formaldehyde.
Mm-hmm.
Don't drink
When we
out of them.
dissected earthworms in biology, my sophomore year of
yeah.
high school, we had a bottle
we had
of
frogs.
earthworms and formaldehyde.
We did
What was your
crickets.
idea, Claire?
6-mole hydrochloric acid.
Yeah, don't.
Will make you throw up.
What is? Okay, gotcha.
Uh-huh. I'm just thinking back when I was in AP
I could
Chem
make a bottle
and
of
thinking
acid,
of
that
all
would-
the things that people like whiffed but not in the correct way, and that made them just
yeah, I did
gag.
that sometimes in chemistry. You just put it right under your nose and take a big whiff.
yeah, my lab partners definitely liked doing that.
I-
And
I
so
did
Again,
that
please
a time
do
or
not
two.
do that.
do
Don't do
not
that.
do that. This is not a
You know,
recommendation.
we're guessing at
This
things
is a
that are on.
problem if
Yeah,
you have lab
right.
partners and they're almost making themselves throw up every lab.
Well, you might have been right because storing a gross thing, something in a bottle that's gross.
Yeah.
I understand that. However, you're forgetting about dangerous
Dangerous.
because
Gross things are
this is
dangerous.
a warning label.
Okay, fine.
Uranium.
So,
Formaldehyde would
What-
also be dangerous.
what bottles do you know? Do they store uranium in bottles?
So one of our
Wait, is that the
experiments in
answer?
AP Chem had
you had uranium in AP Chem.
had these little bottles of uranium, and
no
we were
kidding.
measuring how radioactive it was.
Yeah, my school is old as dirt, built by the Egyptians, and our chemistry closet was stocked before the government sort of cracked down on having dangerous chemicals in your
Nice.
closet.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there are some interesting substances in the back
Yeah.
of my high school chemistry class.
Did you have one of those shower things?
We had, I don't think we had one of the shower things.
We did, but didn't have a drain.
Yeah, we had a
Oh, nice.
a
I
sort
know,
of
right?
They really thought that one out.
we had a
Oh,
cabinet,
yeah.
like a fume cabinet, that didn't ventilate anywhere. Like you were supposed to
Oh,
put
really?
noxious fume type chemicals in
Oh.
there, but it
Yeah.
didn't, the air didn't go anywhere.
Oh,
it just
that's
stayed
That's
there.
smart.
hilarious. No, the correct answer is liquid plumber,
Liquid plumber, so
Yeah.
like drain cleaner.
like Drano or something
Drano.
like that. Yeah,
Man,
apparently
that's so
Oh.
generic as well. I should have gotten Drano easily.
Yeah, so but that's something dangerous that you definitely would not want to
It'd
put
be
a
really-
beverage in after you finished using the liquid
Yeah,
plumber.
it tastes
that's
really
true.
bitter afterwards.
Oh,
if
no
you-
kidding!
if you
Especially
drank
right
some
before you
Drano.
keeled over and died.
Mhm.
Oh, jeez. Let's go to the next one.
What
I have more of these. So
Does he get points?
oh,
Do I get
you
points?
don't get points.
Oh, bummer.
Okay.
It's you show your logic like in math and
Mhm.
physics homework
Because you might get points.
partial credit.
Okay.
you
You
might
know?
get partial credit.
Mm-hmm.
Claire, number 7. Caution, risk of fire. That is what product? has that warning label on it?
Paint.
Is it a lighter?
No, it is not a lighter.
Is it a blowtorch?
No, it is not a blowtorch.
It should be a blowtorch.
I think
Well-
we're past our allotted guess number.
Yeah, I think
Everything
you are.
should be a blowtorch.
Caution, risk of fire. Apparently, this warning label is on the label of Pine Mountain fire logs.
Okay.
Yes.
Of course.
I mean, a log isn't even like particularly dangerous for being flammable.
Hey, but there's a risk of fire
there
still.
is a risk of
Not
fire.
You
like
got to make
gas
sure people who
fumes.
buy it
Yeah.
know that. Because they might, I mean, honestly,
Are they like
if you're at
doped
the store and
logs
you
with
buy a
flammable
fire
stuff?
log, I think by fire log, I think it's like a fire starter.
Yeah, so
like,
it's like
'cause it-
particularly
Y-
flammable.
Yeah, particularly flammable. But,
Okay.
you know, because if you bought it, you might not know that it's flammable.
Yeah.
Some types of paint are also flammable.
You're just trying
Right,
to
but
avoid the
It doesn't
Yeah.
say fire in the name of the paint. You know, it doesn't
Right.
say like this is flammable or
Well,
you
they're
don't buy
saying
paint to
caustic
start a fire.
mediums.
if it's just labeled a fire log, some like not so
Bright
Bright.
individual.
millennials might just think I thought it was just an
Millennial?
awesome log. You know, it was a
Millennials
fire
are
Oh,
log,
it's on fire,
bro.
yeah. I
You
thought
realize
were-
millennials are older than us.
Is that true?
Technically, yes.
Millennials is
Technically-
used all
We're not-
over the place.
Technically, the
It's like
generation
1980s
ends
or
between, depending on what study you look at, the generation ends anywhere between 1995 and 2000.
See, this is one of those things I've looked up like 5 times and then just immediately forget because everyone uses it
Mhm.
willy-nilly.
They
so
still call us
at
millennials.
the youngest millennial would be 3 months younger than me.
Okay.
Hmm,
So there you go.
okay.
There,
My
you
birthday
know, you
being
learn something new every
September
day
of
here on What's on the
99.
Fourth Floor. Like who millennials are.
But so we would have gone to high school with
What
millennials.
generation? What generation is like the one that was born in like I don't know 2005 or something?
I've heard Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Really?
That's what I've heard.
I've
don't
heard
know.
lots of like
There's been a few.
more slang
iGen.
nicknames for that generation.
Yeah.
Mostly
Kids
by
these days.
yeah, the
though.
kids these
Kids
days
these
people, yeah.
days.
Mhm.
They're the worst.
But I haven't heard I have not heard any official names.
We
So-
say as newly anointed adults.
So it was a fire log.
It was a fire log.
Okay.
Last one. We're almost out of time here, so we're gonna make this a quick one.
This one's mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I will also tell you that
For
you
all the
probably
marbles.
can't logic this one out, but I still want to see your thinking.
All right.
Okay.
Warning. Product is non-toxic, but may interfere with breathing if caught in windpipe.
Well, that could be. That's just like everything that isn't toxic fits that description.
Anything that can fit in your mouth.
Yeah. So something.
Or-
my logic
yeah.
would be something that people put in their mouths. I'm immediately drifting toward like a whistle. So something that, or a
Mhm.
child's toy. So it's non-toxic. Maybe like a kazoo. So it's something you put in your mouth.
But
won't
kazoos
kill
have
you.
an air, like a solid tube of.
I still wouldn't
Nothingness in the
recommend
middle.
shoving a
It's-
kazoo.
Don't shove a kazoo.
Don't put a kazoo
down
in your
your
windpipe.
throat.
But maybe you'd be okay.
Oh, that reminds me. My last year of high school, the freshmen had a kazoo dealer. They bought like 500 different kazoos and just handed them out to all of the freshmen.
Nice.
Oh, wow. They would be
They're
hated
just
at my
popping
school.
off all over the place. Kazoos. A kazoo is a
Kazoos.
particularly annoying instrument.
Yeah.
Is
There are
kazoo
some-
your final answer?
No, kazoo, because that you said it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
No, kazoo is my final answer.
Kazoo's your
it
final
makes
answer?
too much sense. It's either whistle or kazoo.
It
I'm
is
gonna go
not-
with kazoo.
It is not a kazoo. Apparently, it's earplugs.
Earplugs. Why are you putting them
Why?
in your
I have
mouth?
no
No.
That's
idea.
not where your ear is.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Humans haven't evolved.
we haven't reached.
What
We haven't reached
are
that
you
level of
talking
technology.
About, Claire?
We can't put ears in mouths yet.
Oh my gosh.
Get on the genetic
Humans have not
research.
reached that level in their evolutionary process.
Oh jeez. Is that the end? Oh my gosh, that's pretty much the
And well, how many points did I get? Any?
No, kazoo, that was negative points. I'll take it easy on you though. That was
Negative.
-5.
Points.
A kazoo, you can't even no.
No, you don't. You just don't like that. All right,
No.
fair enough.
Can't even
who's the
reasonably fit it in your
You
windpipe.
so could. You see, have you ever seen a kazoo? They're like that big.
You
I'm
bring
holding
it-
up my fingers. Listeners, look, they're like this
like
big.
two,
Can't you see?
2.5 inches.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
So who is declared winner of?
Claire.
12
Hands
points.
down.
Wow! Before I even finished the sentence, I don't know if I've ever won a trivia round. But
No.
with that, that's our time. Thank you
That's
for
it.
joining us, listeners. It was loads of fun.
And that reminds me, what's on the 4th floor?
Yeah. What is on the 4th floor? I like
A bunch of kazoo swallowers.
a bunch of kazoos. It's a big band. There's like an
Okay,
Okay, you
orchestra
start
up
with
there.
kazoos and then work your way up to swords.
Yeah. Swords?
Yeah.
Oh, for
Yeah.
swallowing.
Yeah,
for
for
sword
swallowing.
swallowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like a magic showing, but be on the 4th floor.
Yes.
There's like all the magic tricks. There's like a shark tank.
Oh, yeah.
That's where Houdini is. He's on the 4th floor.
Hello? If you're still here, it's because you're looking for more. If that's the case, check us out on Facebook at What's on the 4th Floor and Twitter at OnFloor4. Again, that's Facebook, What's on the 4th Floor, Twitter at OnFloor4. That's at OnFloor, the number 4.